Sub-agents are an exciting new feature in Claude Code. Let's talk about what you should do before starting to use them so you have the best possible setup. We will go over sub-agent CPU consumption, what models to use, using thinking keywords for Claude like think deep, ultra think, why plan mode is helpful in this case, how to structure your prompts, and where to go if you run into issues. Welcome back. My name is Natalie. I'm a professional software engineer. In my free time, I enjoy vibe coding. So if you're interested in vibe coding, software engineering, and AI, consider subscribing. The first thing you should do is configure your settings file for Claude Code. A problem I quickly ran into is that the sub-agents were consuming all of my CPU and making my computer crash. And the best place to look for solutions when something like that happens is the Anthropic GitHub repo. It's confusingly called Anthropic's, but it's definitely run by them. So I found a thread called Claude Code freezes with 100% CPU during multi-agent task. And this comment is the one that really helped me. I will link it below. Basically, we want to limit the amount of memory and resources that Claude Code sub-agents can use, or I suppose that Claude Code can use in general. You don't want to set these as global variables, especially if you're running on WSL2 on Windows or on Linux. What you actually want to do is create a settings.json file in the .claude folder and then set them there. I will link this doc below as well. And just so you can get an idea, here is where I set mine, settings.local.json, and it's right here at the top, this object. Number 2, if you're on the max plan or above, make sure to set your model to the Sonnet 4. I noticed that this morning a new feature dropped where you're able to configure the model per sub-agent. Considering that Opus is 5 times more expensive than Sonnet, I have found that it's more efficient to use Sonnet overall, and if you need something with a larger context window, to use Gemini CLI, a project manager, or as a code-based analyzer. I'm not sure if this will stay relevant for that much longer since we can now configure models per sub-agent, but if you're interested in that, I have a video up here on how to use Gemini CLI with Claude Code. And here's what the agent interface looks like right now. This just appeared this morning, which is just so cool. The models per agent. And we can go and configure an agent, edit model, Sonnet, Opus, Haiku, or inherit from parent. Number 3, use thinking keywords like think deep, ultra think deeper, because then you will see what Claude is actually thinking. To me, it feels easy to get lost between all the recommendations of different keywords because they don't seem defined, they just seem recommended. In working on this full stack app, I found that if you use think deep, you will actually see what Claude is suggesting and thinking. Number 4, I found that to get a great plan, first go into plan mode, use the think deep keyword, and also tell Claude to utilize subtasks and specialized agents. If you do that, it comes up with a really great plan. The plan has phases, and each phase has an agent. This is really nice because even if you don't have any agents set up, it will suggest agents to set up. And that gets us into step number 5. If you don't have any agents set up and Claude has suggested some agents, plan mode is really great because you can stop what it's doing and then ask it to give descriptions and tool lists for each agent. I have not yet found a programmatic way to create agents in the correct format, so what I've been doing is just creating one agent and then telling Claude to use that file as a template. Here's what an agent template looks like. One of the more important things is defining what tools the agent will use. Right now, selecting them is quite finicky in the interface. The built-in tools are great, but the doc on sub-agents is great as well. What you could also do is copy over this file format and tell Claude to create agents according to this file format. And instead of using the /agents command, you can tell Claude to create sub-agent files, just like outlined here in the direct file management section. That gets us into the next point, what tools to use, what MCPs to use. I'm working on a Next.js Supabase app, and I found that the Supabase MCP, Context 7 Docs MCP, Playwright MCP have been incredibly useful. I would suggest setting up all of your MCPs and then going through the agent creation flow to see what tools you have available. Go into agents, create new agent, click through, write something. Here it's a little confusing because they don't actually show you all the tools right away. So just go to show advanced options and you will see all your tools. They are sectioned off by MCP, and notice that when you're adding the MCP tool to the agent, it's MCP underscore underscore MCP name underscore underscore tool name. And lastly, let's talk about prompts. If you're using subtasks and subagents in your prompts, make sure you're using XML tags. They can be anything. You can name them anything. For example, here I was working on some CRUD bugs, and so I made a CRUD functionality map tag to put the CRUD map file in there, user journey maps tag, and then it's really useful to have one agent to give information to the other. So you want to put that into tags as well. For example, tag next steps. The best way I've found to format complex prompts with subtasks and subagents is to use the Anthropic prompt generator. I'll put a link in the description below, but basically you can paste in whatever prompt you're working on and it will come up with a really well formatted prompt that will help you hand off tasks between agents. It usually also adds a paragraph at the beginning and end. So for my CRUD debugging prompt, it was something like, you are an AI assistant coordinating a team of specialized subagents. And then at the end it said, your final output should consist of only the E2E testing report. Do not include any intermediate steps, discussions, or thought processes in the final output, which I didn't really like, so I started using that think mode and removing that. Now let's talk about what to do when you're actually working with the subagents. Sometimes they can hang. It's okay to interrupt them. You can actually tell Claude to continue. I would also advise using Git. It's been really helpful for me to check out a branch per task. Make sure the commits on that branch are small. I also like asking Claude to make a summary document right before it commits so I can read over what happened. And this way I have a good record of what's going on with subagents. At the end of the day, this is just engineering best practices. I found that Claude suggests more and more specialized subagents, which is why I have so many in this repo. So API endpoint tester, API front-end contract validator, which tracks the flow of data from the front end to the API. I would say don't be afraid to make more agents as long as they are small in scope and their toolset is as limited as possible. And finally, let's talk about what to do after you've used the agents if you're running into any issues. You can use RepoMix to create an overview of your repo and get an agent to analyze it and break it into tasks. If you're encountering specific bugs with Claude Code, go to the Anthropic's Claude Code repo to look for issues. And another great place is the Claude AI subreddit. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you have other tips, please leave them in comments below. Are you using any specialized prompts? Are you using docs? For ideas on how to use Claude more efficiently, check out the next video.